You've been told to find yourself. But what if your purpose isn't something out there to discover, but something already inside you, waiting to be lived? Listen carefully. Psychologists estimate that over 90% of your daily choices are made by your unconscious mind. That means much of your life may not truly be yours. And if you enjoy psychology and philosophy explained simply, subscribe to MindSpark's show. Now, let's dive straight into Carl Jung's idea of individuation, and why he believed it's the only way to unlock your true purpose. Have you ever felt that quiet sense that something is missing? Maybe you have a stable job, a family, and a roof over your head. By society's standards, you're successful. And yet, in those quiet moments, a question lingers. Is this really all there is? Jung called this the pull of the unlived life, the parts of us we've never expressed, the dreams buried under obligation, the voice we silence to fit in. We sense that more of us is waiting to be lived, but we rarely know how to reach it. And this is the paradox of modern life. In an age of endless choice and opportunity, more people than ever feel empty and without purpose. Why do so many of us end up here? Because from the start, society trains us to chase what looks like success, not what brings meaning. We're handed a script: get good grades, earn money, marry, buy a house, retire. On paper, it works. But inside, it often leads to emptiness. Why? Because the script wasn't written by you. This is why so many people hit midlife and feel crushed. They realize they've spent decades living for external approval instead of internal truth. Success without meaning is hollow. Jung saw this clearly, and he offered individuation as the answer. So, what is individuation? To truly grasp its meaning, we must first acknowledge a common human experience, the feeling of being fragmented. We live in a world that often demands we present a carefully curated version of ourselves, a professional self for work, a social self for friends, a private self for family. We wear these masks, known in Jungian terms as the persona, to navigate our lives. For Jung, individuation was the lifelong process of becoming whole. It means integrating the conscious and the unconscious instead of letting hidden parts of ourselves control us from the shadows. This isn't a self-help trick or a weekend retreat. It is the central, most profound task of a human life. It is a courageous journey inward, a deliberate turning away from the constant noise of the external world, to listen to the subtle, often challenging symphony of the inner world. The conscious mind, our ego, is the part of us that says, I. It's the seat of our awareness, our logic, our identity in the world. It's the captain of our ship, confidently steering through the known waters of daily life. But Jung recognized that this captain is sailing on an ocean of immense depth and mystery, the unconscious. This isn't merely a storage bin for forgotten memories. It is a dynamic, living realm, a source of profound wisdom, untamed energy, and startling creativity. To ignore it is to allow the ship to be tossed about by currents and tides the captain can't even see. Think of a tree. The branches are your conscious self, the identity you show to the world. But the roots, buried underground, are your unconscious, full of forgotten fears, secret desires, and untapped potential. Let's deepen this powerful metaphor. The branches, our conscious ego, reach for the sunlight. They are what everyone sees. They bear the leaves of our achievements, the flowers of our relationships, the fruit of our labor. They are undeniably important, swaying in the winds of public opinion and changing with the seasons of our lives. But the true lifeblood, the source of all stability and nourishment, lies hidden in the darkness of the earth. The roots are our unconscious. They are a complex network, delving deep into the soil of our personal history, holding on to the pain of old wounds, the shame of past failures, and the energy of repressed desires. This is what Jung called the personal unconscious. But the roots go deeper still, tapping into a universal groundwater that nourishes all of humanity. This is the collective unconscious, a shared inheritance of primal patterns and symbols called archetypes. These are the blueprints of the human experience: the hero, the mother, the trickster, the sage. Our roots connect us to this ancient, universal wisdom. If a tree only focused on branches and ignored its roots, it would wither. Real growth requires both. A tree that denies its roots is a tree in peril. It may look impressive for a time, its leaves green and full, but without a deep, strong connection to the earth, it has no anchor. When the storms of life arrive, a sudden loss, a career failure, a crisis of faith, it is easily toppled. Without drawing nourishment from its hidden depths, its leaves will yellow, its branches will become brittle, and it will cease to grow. True, vibrant, resilient growth requires a constant dynamic exchange between what is seen and what is unseen. The sap of unconscious wisdom must be allowed to rise and inform the conscious mind. This is the essence of integration. So how do we begin this dialogue with our own hidden depths? Jung offered us maps and tools. He taught us to listen to the language of the unconscious, which speaks not in prose but in poetry, in the symbols of our dreams. Dreams are not random neural firings, they are nightly letters from the deep self, offering guidance, warnings, and revelations. Another tool is active imagination, a process of consciously engaging with the figures and images that emerge from our psyche, asking them what they represent and what they need from us. It is a direct conversation with the roots of our being. One of the first and most crucial encounters on this journey is with the archetype of the shadow. The shadow is everything we have disowned about ourselves. It is our greed, our anger, our envy, our laziness, all the traits we deem unacceptable and project onto others. It is the dark brother we refuse to acknowledge. The ego's natural tendency is to run from the shadow, to pretend it doesn't exist. But Jung's most radical insight was that the shadow is not merely negative. Buried in that darkness is our unlived life, our raw vitality, our creativity, and our authentic power. As he famously said, "The gold is in the dark." To integrate the shadow is not to become a bad person, but to become a whole one, capable of compassion precisely because we understand the potential for darkness within ourselves. Jung put it this way: "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This profound statement is the heart of the matter. It reframes our entire existence. The goal isn't to become richer, more famous, or more liked. The ultimate achievement, the true privilege, is to shed the layers of conditioning and expectation, to heal the inner splits, and to emerge as the unique, complete individual you were always meant to be. This is not an act of selfishness. It is the greatest gift you can give to the world. A fragmented person projects their inner conflicts outward, contributing to the chaos of the world. A whole person, an individuated person, brings a sense of centeredness and authenticity to everything they do. Individuation is not about perfection, it's about wholeness. The pursuit of perfection is an ego trap. It creates an impossible ideal that ensures we will always feel inadequate. It is a static, brittle state. Wholeness, in contrast, is dynamic and alive. It embraces paradox. It means being able to hold your strength and your vulnerability, your light and your shadow, your joy and your sorrow, all at once without judgment. It is the messy, beautiful, and deeply human reality of being complete. And from this state of wholeness, the frantic, desperate search for purpose simply dissolves. Purpose is not a treasure to be found after a long quest. It is not a job title or a grand mission statement. It is the natural consequence of living in alignment with the self, the archetype of wholeness that is the true center of our being. When the ego steps aside and serves this deeper center, purpose becomes as natural as a tree bearing fruit. It is found in the way you listen to a friend, the integrity you bring to your work, the compassion you show to a stranger. It is not something you find. It is something that emanates from you. It is the quiet, powerful resonance of a life lived in harmony with its own deepest truth. Let's break down the key stages of this profound journey toward wholeness. First, integrating our internal opposites, and finally, living authentically. The journey of individuation, of becoming whole, can often feel like a distant, abstract concept. We speak of the self, the shadow, the persona, but what do these ideas truly look like when they unfold within the landscape of a human life? To ground this profound theory in lived reality, it's helpful to move from the abstract to the particular. Let's explore a case study, a story that illustrates how this process can manifest not as a sudden dramatic epiphany, but as a quiet, courageous turning inward. Let us introduce you to Anna. At 42, her life is a portrait of success as defined by society. She holds a respectable senior position in a marketing firm, a role she has diligently worked towards. Her financial security is solid, providing a comfortable home for her husband and 2 teenage children. From the outside, her life appears ordered, accomplished, and enviable. Yet, beneath this carefully constructed surface, Anna is adrift. A persistent, hollow numbness has become her constant companion. The joy from achievements feels fleeting, replaced by a quiet sense of simply going through the motions. She looks in the mirror and sees not a person, but a collection of roles she has perfected. The good daughter, who never failed to meet her parents' expectations. The good mother, whose own needs are perpetually at the bottom of a long list. And the reliable employee, who absorbs extra work without complaint, her own ambitions quietly shelved. She has become so identified with these masks, with her persona, that the woman behind them has all but disappeared. The turning point for Anna wasn't a dramatic collapse, but a quiet moment of crisis. While planning a family vacation, she felt an overwhelming sense of emptiness. The realization that even in moments of supposed joy she felt nothing prompted her to seek therapy. The initial sessions were difficult. Anna spoke of her life in terms of duties, the language of her persona. But slowly, she began the arduous work of excavating her shadow, the part of her that held everything she had repressed in order to be good. She finally gave voice to the immense, buried anger she felt, and a deep, simmering resentment for the years spent prioritizing everyone else. She grieved for the spontaneous young woman she had been. But the shadow also holds our dormant potential. As she sifted through the resentment, a memory emerged. The smell of turpentine, the feel of a brush in her hand. Beneath the anger, she rediscovered a part of herself she thought was long dead, her passion for painting. Hesitantly at first, Anna bought a small set of canvases and paints. The first brushstrokes were clumsy, filled with self-doubt. But as she persisted, something began to shift. In her small studio, she was not a mother, a daughter, or an employee. She was simply a creator. This act of reclaiming her passion became the anchor for a wider transformation. Empowered by this reconnection, she began the difficult work of setting boundaries. She designated 2 evenings a week as her sacred studio time. When her family initially expressed confusion, she held firm, explaining calmly that this was something she needed for herself. At work, she politely declined to take on a colleague's project, a no that felt both terrifying and liberating. She started to voice her own opinions, not with aggression, but with a quiet confidence. Each small act was a step away from a life lived for external approval and a step towards a life guided by an internal compass of authenticity. It is crucial to understand that the process of individuation did not hand Anna a new, neatly packaged purpose. Her external circumstances did not radically change overnight. She remained a mother, a wife, and an employee. The transformation was internal. What individuation offered her was far more profound. It gave her access to her own wholeness. It unlocked her unlived life, the creative, assertive, and authentic parts of herself that had been relegated to the shadows for decades. By integrating these aspects, the pervasive numbness began to recede, replaced by a rich tapestry of genuine feeling. She could now feel joy in her painting, but also feel and accept her anger or sadness. She was no longer just an actor playing a part. She was the author of her own experience. Through this courageous journey inward, Anna began to live with a renewed sense of vitality and passion, not because her life was suddenly perfect, but because it was finally, authentically, her own. So, after this journey through the architecture of the psyche, we arrive at the most important question: what does this mean for you? We've explored the ego, the persona, the shadow, and the self. But these aren't just abstract concepts. They are living forces within you, the invisible currents shaping your thoughts and choices. Understanding them isn't an academic exercise, it's the beginning of a profound transformation. It's the key to unlocking a life not of frantic searching, but of deep, resonant meaning. This understanding fundamentally shifts our relationship with purpose. It means the conventional idea of finding your purpose is a beautiful illusion. We're taught to look for it out there, in a career, a relationship, a grand calling, as if it were a hidden treasure on a distant shore. We exhaust ourselves chasing these external mirages, believing that once we find it, everything will click into place. But this is a chase that never ends, because purpose is not an object to be found. It is a quality to be cultivated. It is an emergent property of a whole and integrated psyche. Purpose doesn't arrive from the outside, it radiates from within, a quiet light that grows brighter as you integrate the parts of yourself you have been taught to ignore. This cultivation happens through 3 courageous acts. First, facing your shadow. The shadow is the unconscious repository of everything you've disowned, your perceived weaknesses, your unacceptable desires, your hidden talents. It is not evil, it is simply unknown. We often see it projected onto others. The things that irritate us most in people can be reflections of our own shadow. To face it is an act of profound self-compassion. It is to say, you are also a part of me. By integrating the shadow's energy, you reclaim vitality and authenticity. Second, embracing your contradictions. Our culture demands consistency, but the human soul is a vast, paradoxical landscape. You can be both strong and vulnerable, cynical and hopeful. To embrace your contradictions is to give up the exhausting performance of being a single, static character. It is to accept your multifaceted truth and find the freedom to be fully human. And third, from this place of wholeness, you begin to live from the self. The self is not the ego, it is the wise, still point within, the organizing intelligence of the entire psyche. Living from the self means you are guided by a deeper inner compass, not just the ego's fears. Your actions align with an intuitive rightness. In this state, the question, "What is my purpose?" dissolves. You are no longer asking. You are living it. This is why purpose is not discovered. It is embodied. Discovery is a singular event. Embodiment is a continuous process, a way of being. It's not about finding the one right thing to do, but about bringing purposefulness to everything you do. You can embody your purpose while washing the dishes, listening to a friend, or walking in nature. It is the how, not just the what. It is the presence and integrity you bring to each moment. When living from the self, your purpose is infused into your very being. It is the unique resonance you bring to the world by being your most authentic, integrated self. A quiet revolution that transforms the mundane into the meaningful. And this path is not easy. It is the hardest work you will ever do. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." It is terrifying because it means letting go of who you be. It means looking at your flaws and your darkness without flinching, accepting you are not perfect. But in that terror lies true freedom. In that total acceptance, you are liberated from the heaviest burden, the need to pretend. You are free from the draining effort of upholding a facade. You are free to simply be. If this exploration resonated with you, we invite you to join the conversation. Like this video to help it reach others. Share your reflections in the comments. Your journey can be a light for someone else. And to continue exploring the depths of psychology and philosophy, subscribe to MindSpark's show. We are committed to making these profound ideas accessible. Thank you for sharing this space with us. And always remember, awareness is the only path to growth.